Hello everyone and welcome back to another sketchbook session. In this video I'll be using my Posca Paint Markers, which I haven't really used yet. This is the first illustration where I've used them for the whole paint / colouring process. Before now I've used them in my sketchbook as like using for little details, but in this one I'm going to use it for the whole thing. And because this was the first time I've used them, I wanted to talk to you about doing things that scare you, or doing things despite the fear of failure. Because I think I need this pep talk as well, so this is also a reminder for myself. So I hope you don't mind me waffling on about this subject, but I think it's important for people to hear it, and if not anyone else, for myself, so I can replay this back, because I need the reminder sometimes as well. So I don't know, maybe this is going to be a TMI session, but if you're not interested in that, you know, just mute this video, put some nice music on in the background, and you can watch me draw or draw along with me anyway. But for those of you who might be interested, yeah, I'm going to talk about things that scare you or the fear of failure. So unfortunately, I am a very anxious person, and it is something that can affect me quite badly. And on top of that, I am also a perfectionist. If I want to do something, I want to do it well the first time, otherwise I can get really frustrated. And especially with my art, that means it can take me a while to get up the courage to just start. So that's why I don't really use a sketchbook very often, because it's a blank page, and because of my perfectionism, I'm like, this page needs to look good. But that's not always what a sketchbook is for. And it's sort of in the name, isn't it? A sketchbook. You're using it for sketches, use it for practice. And I just haven't managed to train my brain to see it that way. I see a blank page and I immediately just want to do something like a full illustrated piece, finished and looking good. And I need to try and train my brain to not do that all the time. I did have to remind myself with this one that it is okay to use an eraser, which is really stupid, I know, but for a while I got really hung up about using the eraser in my sketchbook, and I think this is because in my dives of the YouTube art world, I found some advice which was to not use the eraser and to keep those mistakes and try to use them in some way. I guess in the same way I see advice about drawing in ballpoint pen, and I suppose it's to train your brain to embrace the mistakes, and of course the more you practice, the more confident you get with your lines. But for me, I'm not, like I said, I'm not at that stage yet. I think I need to use the eraser in my sketchbook sometimes so my brain doesn't tell me I'm shit at drawing. Because I'm not, I know I can draw, and it's okay to use the eraser. But for some reason I'm like, oh no, I can't use the eraser in my sketchbook, but I can. My brain works in mysterious ways. So when I started this, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I had this reference image saved on Pinterest that I knew I wanted to use, and then I recorded it because I thought, I wanted to do another sketchbook session, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But it actually came out really well. I was really proud of this sketch, and I thought, oh, this is a really good opportunity to use my paints. But I'd not used them before, so this sketch was finished I think in June, and I didn't get around to painting it until a couple of months after, because I didn't want to ruin the sketch. And I've got an embroidery kit as well that I was given a few Christmases ago that I haven't used because, I need to make time for it, but I need to make time for it amongst all my other hobbies. But I also was scared to start because I don't do it very often, so I'm not that good at it yet, and I didn't want to ruin it. I've got canvases that are so old that I've never used. And to be fair, I don't use paint really. I did go through a phase where I used watercolour a little bit, but I don't really use paints an awful lot. I haven't for a few years, other than trying out now these paint pens. But I've got canvases that I haven't used because it's so permanent. I've been scared to use them. I've been scared to paint on them and use them in case it comes out really bad. And I guess this video is a reminder to myself that if I don't do something because I'm worried it will look bad or I'll mess up, then I'll end up doing nothing. And creatively doing nothing is worse than doing something bad. And maybe that can apply to other areas in life as well. Like, I recently started a new job and it's completely different to anything I've ever done before. I'm 32 years old and I've basically gone back to the start of a different career path, and my anxiety has been kicking my ass for a good few weeks now. But doing that thing that scared me and is scaring me still each day, I think is better than staying where I was. And I know the anxiety will pass the more I do it. So create badly, mess up, make ugly art. Because the fact that you've brought something into creation will always trump the fact that it may not be perfect. And that's how you learn and grow and get better, so you won't mess up as often. And also just have some confidence in yourself. I actually quite like how this turned out. It's not, the best, but it's good for me, I think, and that's all that matters. I think I'd like to experiment some more with the paint pens and using them alongside other mediums as well, maybe alcohol markers. Because really, it was just basically a colouring process. I don't feel like I've really painted much, so much as just coloured it in with paint, which is, I suppose, how you paint in the first place. But you know what I mean. In one bit of this, I did try to see if I could blend the paint with a paintbrush. I'm sure I watched a YouTube video where someone managed to do that. Like, they put the paint down with the pen, and while it was still wet, they managed to use a paintbrush to try and blend it a bit more. I wasn't really able to do that. I think the paint dried a little bit too quickly with the Posca markers. So I ended up doing more of a stippling technique. So like dabbing the paint on in sections and then dabbing with the other colour as well before it had fully dried. And that seemed to work okay, especially when blending like the lighter colours together, or with the parts where the lighter colour goes into the more browny parts. So it didn't work, the paintbrush, but I worked my way around it and it didn't come out too badly. The pens themselves were actually really nice to use. Yeah, they worked really well. I had no problems with them at all, really. Even doing the large parts of the colouring stage, like the brown, and then you'll see later I go in with a black and do a black background. It was actually quite satisfying. But I will say I don't think they worked well with the paper that I'm using. I don't know what sort of paper it is. It's just a sketchbook that I got years and years and years ago. It's just a generic, it's not like a proper art one, so I don't know what sort of paper it is. But I did notice that on those large areas, even some of the small areas actually, it did pill a little bit, the paper. But other than that, it did fare quite well with the paints. Most of the blending you'll see me trying to do will be on the background when I colour in some of the flowers. I did try to I wanted to go from cold colours to warm colours, so you'll see that I go from blue to red down the page, and I tried to do that with the greens on the leaves as well. So at the top I chose more of a cooler greens, and then chose warmer greens as I went down the page, and I thought that was quite nice as well, if I do say so. Am I allowed to say that about my own art? I thought I liked it. For most of the piece as well, I tried to go from left to right because I'm right-handed, and usually I don't do a lot of large bits of colouring in my sketchbook, especially using paint. I'm not really in the habit of going left to right, you know, so you don't smudge anything, because most of my art is digital, so it doesn't really matter. And for most of the piece, I remembered to go, when colouring, left to right, so I wasn't smudging anything, because although the paint dried quickly, it was still damp for a little bit, so especially with the flowers, trying to blend the yellow and the blue and the reds together, I still had to wait a little bit for it to dry. But as I get to the end, down to the bottom left part of the page, I do forget, and I do get into a little bit of a pickle. I don't think you'll really be able to see it, but there were some angles that I really struggled with, trying not to put the palm of my hand in the paper because I'd forgotten to go left to right. But luckily nothing really smudged, or nothing that I couldn't fix. So it all worked out in the end. But yeah, if you did stick around to listen to me ramble on, I hope you found it useful. If there is ever anything you want me to talk about, just let me know in the comments and I'll give it a go. I'm sure I can ramble on about anything. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well and you're enjoying the spooky season. And just remember, creating something, even if you think it's bad or not good enough or whatever, creating it is infinitely better than not having created it at all. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up and give me a follow, and I'll see you hopefully in the next video. Bye!